Hello and welcome to my channel. I am ZodiacBandit, and today we will be going over episode 22 of Critical Role Campaign 3. I'm going to be recapping and giving my thoughts on sort of as we go. So to start off with, the episode begins with them coming to the city of Jushar and making their way to Jenna Huxsom's home, or Gianna Huxsom's home. I feel like they flip-flop between the names, where they come into her house and hear the sound of a violin, and at first they believe maybe she has a violin playing itself somewhere to give some sort of ambiance, but they eventually go upstairs and see Jenna herself playing, and seems to be an older woman sitting across from her. They kind of don't pay attention to the players until Gianna is done. Eventually they sort of learn that this is a tutor for her to play violin, that she has picked up the hobby over the last year, and eventually she leaves, but not the tutor leaves, but not before the players, give a little bit of interest towards her and ask if they can give her lessons or give them lessons, to where she says Gianna will set them up if they need to. After that, they tell Gianna or Jenna. I'm gonna stick with Jenna Huxsom. They tell Jenna of what transpired at the Twilight Museum. Ashton seems a little still peeved off about the traps, what were claimed to be non-life-threatening traps. He still seems very pissed off that there was multiple deadly traps throughout. And then he gives her the papers that they found in his office, which she is very delighted by and is very intrigued on the information that Yvonne has seemingly gathered on her, and says this will be able to, embarrass him for the next year at least. After that, she pays up everyone 500 gold pieces each and seemingly ends the contract between her and Ashton. So Ashton is now no longer under her thumb or anything like that. He is free to do as he pleases without her seemingly butting in. They seem to have had a relaxed relationship beforehand, but now if he wants to, it seems he can absolutely just abscond from her and his life and just move on their life. But before they leave, Fern pipes up and asks if she can have the statue that morphs into whoever's face that is looking at it, to which Jenna says only if you can carry it out right now. So then Fern makes her way downstairs, but Jenna asks if she can have a one-on-one with FCG, our favorite automaton. Ashton is pretty adamant about staying in the room while this happens, and everyone else leaves. So it's just Jenna, FCG, and Ashton. Ashton just sits in the room kind of looking around, getting a feel, having a few flashbacks to the night of the break-in and to these boxes that has sort of been hinted at to have been what they were trying to steal that night. During his little moment in the corner, FCG begins to sort of get interrogated or, gets investigated by Jenna, who is very intrigued by the fact that he is so much different from every automaton she has ever seen. He seems to have a soul, which intrigues her and kind of makes FCG uncomfortable. FCG is starting to learn about boundaries for himself, or their self, and they aren't necessarily a big fan of Gianna prodding and looking at them as if they're a piece of meat instead of a person. And FCG kind of points this out to her at one point, and she kind of gives space and sort of begins to respect that, because this is an automaton with a soul. Of course, it's going to have boundaries. Gianna asks if they come across any other sort of automaton like FCG, that they send them to her, and that they will get some sort of, payment for it. FCG isn't very pleased or comfortable with this idea, as he will say later on, but it seems that everyone leaves this room on a good note, positive note. Downstairs, meanwhile, while they're trying to pick up the statue, Fern is struggling, and there's no help from Mage Hand or telekinesis from Imogen. But Ashton comes down the stairs, picks it up over his head, no problem, one-armed, and they begin to leave Jenna Huxsom's house. After that, they get on the gondola before they sort of investigate this statue, as they're a little nervous about it, the potential of it being some sort of spying component within the statue. They learn that it's just some sort of illusion magic on it that allows it to switch its faces around and doesn't seem to have anything more than that on it. After that, make their way to Lord Esteros' house, the first time in what feels like forever since we've seen Lord Esteros. We come across him while he's having some sort of afternoon training segment in his house, beating the crap out of a wooden dummy. And there's a bunch of weapons spread around the walls in this room when they walk into his workout room. To which, once Esteros notices them, he, collects himself, grabs his scythe off the wall, and then it clicks in and transforms into his cane that he's been walking around with the silver ball on top, which is badass. I mean, that is some dope ass shit right there. With him, they sort of, tell him about Ruidus, the things they've learned about the people with conspiracies, the group of which his name is, I'm losing right now. But he tells them that he's heard of the group before, this conspiracy group, and doesn't know too much about them. But he then goes on to inform them that Armand Treshy has fled Drushar and has taken most of his valuables with him. And he was able to track him for a little while because of the ring they put on him at the ball. But he has sort of left the radius, and he gives them the last known location of Armand Treshy, which was Bassaris. And that is in the same direction as where the rest of the party wanted to go, to look more into Ruidus and Ruidus Born, so it is quite convenient for them. After this, he tells them that the Dial House, or Dial Hall, is on the same spire as them, and Chetney wants to go meet Ajit Dial. To which they then figure out what kind of transport are they going to take to get to Bassaris to speed up their travels, which Esteros says that the sky ship that he sent Bertrand's body on has returned, and there's actually a letter from someone sort of thanking them for returning his body. So they read it, and the note or letter is from Vex'ahlia, which is really cool. This was a good reference, another very good reference to campaign one that's really logical, seeing as how they exactly shipped it out to them, to Whitestone. Of course she's gonna get this body, so this was I was expecting something like this to come back with the confirmation that Bertrand's body had made it. So this was really cool and a nice send-off to Bertrand. He made it back home to be with some of his friends. And yeah, it's a nice little send-off. Maybe they're going to bury him in the... I don't know if he's religious or not, but they're probably going to bury him at the Raven Queen's church or temple that they have there in Whitestone now, which is cool. Maybe Liev Tel will be there to bury him. After that, they go to the Dial Hall, where they learn that this place is kids can't afford school all the time, and the Dial Hall is just that, for kids who can't afford it. They teach them about life, things that they'll necessarily need, especially to be in the city of Drushar. Some things that you wouldn't expect young kids to learn, but it's useful for them here in this city, and they seem to be attentive to it, so they're teaching them this. And of course, there's probably regular stuff going on, but they have a little trouble meeting Ajit Dial because Chetney rolls a natural 1 on his persuasion check on the guards to get in, and the guard is a dick and says, "I'll go get him," and then immediately goes and sits down. To where Imogen has to go up and sort of tell the guard about Grease, and that prompts the guard to go get Ajit Dial, who they did see his face at the ball, it's recognizable. They might have seen him out of the periphery, or he was in a group standing around at the ball from a couple weeks ago. So with that, he takes them to his private office, and tells them about what the school is, which I already briefly explained. And then Chetney sort of, not very subtly, but also is well aware that this guy might be on his side. He drops the nugget that he has the same affliction as Gurge. And then immediately Ajit Dial begins to inform him about his relationship with Gurge, that he and the other Gorjani saved him and his wife from a vine creature, a very similar vine or tree-like creature in the swamp that they encountered. Very similar. And he begins to sort of tell them about what it was like having the Gorjani be around a little bit until they left and Gurge decided to stay behind, and he informs Chetney of the difficulties he's going to have sort of mastering this affliction he has, the lycanthropy. To which he tells them that they, the Gorjani, are now in the gloomed jungle, and that the leader is, excuse me if I say this name wrong, Diva Shile, I believe is what Matt said, but it was a fucking huge name, who is most likely or seems to have some sort of leadership position in the Gorjani. And he says the best way is to go through the jungle closer to the gloomed jungle entrance, or outside of the Jushar jungle area, and howl as the sunlight, I believe it was, disappears over the mountain. That way their sharp ears will be able to pick it up. But the problem is that might also inform other creatures in the area that something is, being called to them. So to be sort of safe and careful when trying to approach the Gorjani. So, yeah, nice little tie-ins for Chetney's story there as well. After that, they leave. They ask if they can eventually sit in on one of his lessons, but they also tell him that they have to kind of skedaddle soon. Or he tells them he has to get back to class, and they also say that they have to leave soon. So they part their ways with Ajit Dial and make their way to Marwa, the shop owner of the wacky, weird sort of items and, components owner or shop owner, where she kind of gives them a few magical items. The Butcher's Bib, which when they were reading it out is goddamn insane. And the Butcher's Bib is a apron that is constantly bleeding, but gives them decent, very, very good effects. And to me, the slight bit of blood or constant bleeding is so minor that this was an instant grab. It was extremely expensive. No, this one was the cheaper of the two things. At first, they didn't take this, which to me was goddamn nuts, because that thing would have been perfect for Chetney. Later, or just after they put that down, because apparently it's involved in a murder, and they want to not take it for stupid reasons, Marwa says she might actually give it to the wardens, but she goes back on that in a minute. She then shows them a portable black hole, which at first I thought it was going to be something where you could throw it on a wall and then reach through and you'd be on the other side of the wall, but it's actually more like a teleportation thing to a pocket dimension, which is, in my opinion, even more useful, because it's effectively a better version of a bag of holding, because you can go inside of it. And I thought that was really cool, because immediately my mind said, Chetney can turn invisible, everyone hops in the black hole, Chetney picks this thing up, puts it in his pocket, and they're able to sneak through every encounter from here on out for the rest of the campaign. Which, God, I hope they don't do that, now that I've really thought about it for a minute. So this is the really expensive item, but then she also shows them a Horn of Silent Alarm, which to me is also an easy grab, because it is a horn that you blow in within 600 feet. The only person that can hear the sound is the person you're thinking of, which if they separate the party within 600 feet of each other and something goes wrong with one of them, they can blow the horn and bam, the other party is alerted. I think that's insane. I think that's awesome. And it was only 30 gold. So the fact that they almost didn't take this, they eventually took all three items for, I think it was 1,530 gold pieces, which to me if you paid attention to the bibs, like shit, the stuff that the bib did, and this black hole, and this silent alarm that allows you to communicate effectively with somebody 600 feet away and no one else hear it, is insane. That is a steal. They walked away with only 3 people losing their pay from Jenna Huxsom. They ran over Marwa here because that was nasty. That's a very good pull for what they got. After that, they elect to get a bite to eat at one of the taverns in the Core Spire, and then they make their way back to the Fire by Spire Inn, where they're going to go into Ashton's mind. They're going to mind meld with Ashton. Imogen and FCG have sort of come up with this idea where both of them detect thoughts on one person, and they're able to both super concentrate on previous memories of whatever they're thinking of. And this shows us more of Ashton's past within this break-in. It shows like the sort of start of it with all of them sort of like them and the nobodies sitting on a table going that this shipment's bad and they need to break in and steal it, cutting to them making their way into the house, sort of creaking around, looking for ways in, red runes popping up after they grab something, and then flashing back again to them opening a crate and people telling them to hurry up, back to the runes flashing, a white light. Ashton is now falling from a balcony very slowly, slow motion, feeling memory. And then we also hear one of the members of the Nobodies say to leave Ashton behind. He is done for. To which, oh no, her name is escaping me now. The friend with the glasses, their name is escaping me now. And where we get like a small scene of them, waking up as Marley. No, that's not it. The friend with the glasses, and it's pissing me off that I forgot the name, is like really excited to see that they are back. Ashton is back to life with whatever this person did. And it's really cool. After Ashton sort of comes out of this little trance that FCG and Imogen put him in, he is under the effects of calm emotions, so he doesn't do anything right that moment. But the minute FCG drops it, he gets up and starts smashing the wall behind him with his fists, leaving behind blood smears, which to me seems a little odd that a stone person can do that, but it's also kind of interesting at the same time. So, some very high emotions coming from Ashton, and a lot more of their backstory showing their way through as we continue. And I'm very excited to learn more about Ashton and potentially what this sort of mind reading thing can do for other characters. I would love to see Laudna's final moments. As much as we already know them now, I would love to see them kind of go through it, to have more visceral detail from Matt describing how the Briarwoods tricked her into coming and saying she's going to have a better life now. That kind of shit would be very interesting just to see. So that is where the episode ended, with them sort of all going to sleep. I can imagine Matt's going to start the next episode with Imogen having a bad dream again. So very excited for next week's episode. After that, I'm excited to see them leave Drushar again, because we spent a lot of time in Drushar to begin with. So it'd be very nice to not go back and stay for forever. As much as I know some people want to be in a central location when watching, but I like exploring Matt's world, so I'm very excited to see the next part of it, which seems to be the Hatchback Valley, Xback Valley, one of the two. Very excited to see this new section of Marquette that we haven't seen before. So, very excited. I will see you guys on Tuesday for my next video, which is, will the Darrington Brigade come back in Campaign 3? Just like the other 2 episodes that I've done before on Will, Vox Machina, and the Mighty Nine return for Campaign 3. So, see you guys Tuesday. Peace.